Some breaking news that we've been following this morning. A man is facing at least 12 counts as attempted murder, several other charges after firing a gun multiple times overnight. This is a look at the scene where it all came to an end very early this morning. Police say just before midnight, Eugene Robertson went to a 7-Eleven on South Airport Boulevard in Aurora, fired shots, then shot at a customer in the parking lot. They say he also threatened someone with a gun at the Burger King across the street. When officers arrived just after midnight, he shot through a front door of an apartment building that was near East Ohio Avenue and East Alameda Parkway. While police were then searching for him, they say another officer fired a gun. No one was hurt in any of this, amazingly, and Robertson was taken into custody. We have learned a 39-year-old man from Nicaragua died while in custody at an ICE detention center in Aurora. 9 News reporter Jordan Chavez joins us in the newsroom. And Jordan, the federal agency says that he died at a hospital last week, but they're not releasing many details.
Yeah, Gary, and now ICE is facing even more questions about specifically how 39-year-old Melvin Calero Mendoza ended up in that hospital and what treatment he received. We are asking questions, of course. So is the Rocky Mountain Immigrant Advocacy Network. They provide legal counsel and services to people in ICE custody. Calero Mendoza wasn't one of their clients, but Laura Lund says she wants to advocate for him. In a press release, ICE wrote about its commitment to the, quote, health and welfare of all those in custody and the medical care they provide. But none of the information ICE shared was about the care Calero Mendoza specifically received.
Very little of the statement actually focused on Melvin. Instead, it focused on the agency and the resources that they allocate nationwide. But they don't talk about what resources were allocated toward him in his experience.
ICE says an autopsy is still pending to determine an official cause of death. The agency is legally required, though, to make all reports regarding deaths while in custody public within 3 months.
All right, thank you for the update. We'll see what happens on that.
This morning, deputies in Adams County are searching for people they say were involved in a deadly shooting at a house party over the weekend. A senior at North High School died in the shooting. 7 others were hurt and 2 are still in critical condition. Deputies say they're looking for an early 2000s model dark blue Chevy Tahoe. They aren't sure how many suspects were inside. It happened at a house on Dakin Street. Investigators still aren't sharing many details about what happened, but if you know anything, you're asked to call the Adams County Sheriff's Office.
Well, today, Denver's new police chief is going to be sworn in. Mayor Michael Hancock nominated Ron Thomas 6 weeks ago after now former chief Paul Pazin abruptly retired. Yesterday, City Council officially approved that nomination. Thomas has been with the department for 33 years, most recently as chief of patrol. Thomas says some of his goals are to create a way to report incidents online and add more officers to respond to calls.
Response times are up. I understand that call hold times are up. At the same time, I understand that our staffing is down. I understand that community trust is also at a low point. And I'm committed to fixing those things. We need to fix those things, and those things are going to be addressed. I can promise you that.
He does have a big list. Thomas will be formally sworn in as chief today at 11:30. Well, in Aurora, city leaders say they're planning to hire new employees for the crisis response team, and they're going to work with CU Health to try and make that happen.
The program is supposed to send a police officer and a mental health clinician to certain 911 calls, but it hasn't had any full-time clinicians for nearly 2 months. 9 News reporter Mark Salinger shows us how Aurora is changing how it operates the program.
We don't know how many calls came into Aurora 911 over the last month and a half that involved a mental health crisis. We do know there were no full-time clinicians, part of Aurora's crisis response team, working to respond.
If we don't have clinicians, we're not running a co-responder program.
Now Aurora is taking steps to fix the problem. For years now, the city has partnered with Aurora Mental Health Center to provide clinicians for the co-responder program. That will end now, after an audit published by the city found a long list of problems with the way the program is run.
We've had difficulty getting fully staffed on the clinician side over the years. As we know, it's a very tough market.
Jason Batchelor is the deputy city manager in Aurora. He told city council members Aurora will now work with UC Health to find clinicians.
We really want that co-responder model fully staffed.
The audit found that Aurora lacks formal procedures for handling calls for persons in crisis. Aurora 911 does not have protocols to determine whether a mental health crisis is occurring, and the crisis response team lacks policies and procedures for its operations. Ultimately, the audit recommended the city change the way it finds clinicians.
We're in the final stages of contracting with UC Health. We're hoping to be under contract by November.
Program manager Courtney Tassin told council members pay was so low they couldn't retain staff. They're hoping higher pay will help and want to hire clinicians as soon as possible, citing the immediate need.
With the UC Health proposal, their salary was very competitive.
So just how many calls is the crisis response team not responding to because of a lack of staff? The audit found in one random week, more than 115 calls involved a person in crisis, which the team could have responded to.
The audit found that the city itself does not keep track of how many mental health calls come in, so it's really hard to know how many total mental health calls there are. Since there are no full-time clinicians, the program manager has been responding to calls when she can, which is about once a week.